What if I told you Stonehenge's traveling stone? A 5,000-year-old road trip started somewhere you'd never expect. Could ancient people really move a rock this far? Tonight we walk back 5,000 years to a wide green plain in southern England. At the very heart of the Great Circle lies one stone that does not belong. It is called the altar stone. It is twice the size of the smaller stones around it, and it rests flat on its back, at the exact center of everything. For more than 100 years, people were certain it had come from Wales. It seemed to make sense. The nearby bluestones had traveled from the Welsh hills, so surely this one had followed the same road south. That story held for 80 years, and then a handful of grey fragments, kept in dusty museum drawers, were placed under a new kind of light. What they revealed did not fit the map anyone had drawn. The stone at the centre of Stonehenge had been keeping a secret about where it was born, and the truth was waiting far to the north. And that is the question we will follow tonight, slowly, all the way to its source. Picture the plain at dusk. The grass is low and damp, cropped short by grazing herds. A soft wind moves across Salisbury Plain, and the great stones throw long shadows toward the east. This is a working landscape, not a ruin. Fires burn in low timber halls a short walk away. There is the smell of wood smoke, of animal fat, of turned earth. The people here raise cattle and pigs, and they gather from far away for great feasts at midwinter. They have no metal tools, no wheels turn on these tracks, and yet they have raised stones taller than 3 men and set them in rings that follow the sun and the moon with quiet precision. Stonehenge is already old to them. It has been growing, stone by stone, for generations, built and rebuilt across many centuries. And somewhere within this circle, a long flat slab is waiting to be laid down at the very heart of it all. No one alive had ever seen it moved, yet everyone knew it had to be moved. Now let the plain fall away beneath us. We drift north, over rivers and ridges, over the whole length of Britain, until the land grows harder and the air turns cold. This is the northeast of Scotland, a region geologists call the Orcadian Basin. It reaches from the far highlands out to the windswept islands of Orkney. Here, beneath heather and grey sky, lies a band of stone known as the Old Red Sandstone. It was laid down when this land sat at the foot of mountains as high as the Himalayas, a range born when 2 ancient continents collided and the ocean between them closed. Rivers and lakes spread sand across the basin, grain by grain, for millions of years. Those grains slowly hardened into rock, and locked inside that rock, inside each small fragment, are tiny crystals older than almost anything else on Earth. They are the reason we now know where the altar stone truly began. Grampian Mountains once towered here, ground down by wind and rain into the very sand we are chasing. We are chasing a stone across time as much as across land. The northeast of Scotland was no empty wilderness. 5,000 years ago, Orkney was one of the most alive places in all of Britain. On these islands stand some of the oldest stone houses in Europe, with built-in beds and shelves of stone still standing today. There were great timber halls, finely decorated pottery, and stone circles raised long before many others further south. Ideas seem to have flowed outward from here, carried along the coasts. Archaeologists have found that pottery styles, house designs, even the shapes of monuments were shared across enormous distances. And the animals eaten at the feasts near Stonehenge, we now know from chemistry in their bones, sometimes came from the far north. So the picture that is forming is not one of isolated, scattered tribes. It is of a connected island, laced together by long sea routes, and somewhere along this cold Scottish coast, a great slab of sandstone was chosen and lifted and pointed south. These were sailors, builders, and dreamers, and the sea was their open road. So how can anyone be sure? The answer is smaller than a grain of sand. Inside the altar stone are tiny minerals with names like zircon, rutile, and apatite. Zircon crystals are nearly indestructible, and each one carries a hidden clock. As they form, they trap traces of uranium, which decays at a steady, known rate. Measure what remains, and you can read the crystal's true age. The team behind the 2024 study, led by a young researcher named Anthony Clark, dated these grains one by one. Some were around 460 million years old. Others reached back 3,000 million years. Together, that particular mix forms a fingerprint. And when they compared that fingerprint to rocks across Britain and Ireland, only one region matched. Not Wales, not England, the far northeast of Scotland, more than 750 kilometers away. The stone at the center of Stonehenge had been mislabeled for a century of certainty, undone by crystals you could lose on a fingertip. And here the real mystery opens. Because knowing where the stone began only sharpens the impossible question. How do you move a slab of 6 tons across the entire length of an island, without a single wheel, without a scrap of metal, without a horse to pull it? Some have wondered whether ice could have carried it, a glacier slowly dragging it south across the ages. But geologists who study how ice once moved across Britain say no. There is, they argue, essentially no way a block this size drifted from northern Scotland to Salisbury Plain on a glacier, which leaves human hands. And when you look at the map, the overland route is brutal, crossing mountains, rivers, and endless bogs for hundreds of miles. So the researchers suggest something bolder still. The altar stone, they think, most likely came by sea, hugging the wild coasts of Britain in boats we have never found. Think of it, a coastline read like a map held only in memory, passed from parent to child across lifetimes. A raft of 6 tons and the whole grey ocean waiting to test it. Try to imagine that voyage. We know a little of how these people moved great weights. They used ropes braided from plant fiber, wooden sledges, rollers cut from felled logs, and levers of deer, antler, and stone. On land, teams would haul a stone forward a few slow meters at a time, packing timber beneath it, working together for days on end. But water changes everything. A stone that takes 100 people to drag overland can be floated on a lashed raft or a broad wooden boat and carried gently by the tide. The seas around Scotland are treacherous, cold, and quick to turn. To follow that coastline for hundreds of miles, reading the weather, resting in sheltered bays, waiting out storms, would have taken planning across many seasons. This was not one heroic dash. It was a journey organized by a whole society, one able to gather people, food, and knowledge toward a single shared purpose. And every mile of it had to be chosen and paid for in effort and time. And what a purpose it was. The altar stone is not tall and proud like the sarsens that ring it. It lies flat, low, recumbent, right on the central line of the whole monument. 5 meters long, grey-green, flecked with the sparkle of tiny minerals when the light catches it just so. We do not know if it ever stood upright or was always meant to lie down. We do not even know for certain that the people in the south understood exactly where it had come from. But its position tells us that it mattered. You do not carry a stone the length of a country and then set it at the edge. You place it at the very heart. Whatever meaning it held, whatever bond or memory or bargain it carried between north and south, it was important enough to cross an entire island for. And there it has rested, silent ever since. No inscription survives to explain it, no marking, no name. Only its place and its patience speak for it now. You do not carry silence this far unless the silence is sacred. Slowly, the world that raised these stones began to change. The great age of monument building did not end in a single day. It faded over centuries, like evening drawing in over the plain. New peoples arrived in Britain, carrying beakers of pottery and, in time, the first metals. Bronze came, and later iron. The old gathering places saw fewer and fewer feasts. The timber halls fell quiet and returned to the soil. Farming patterns shifted, and the reasons people had once walked for days to stand inside a ring of stone began to blur and soften and drift out of living memory. Stonehenge was never destroyed. It was simply gradually let go. The turf grew long around the leaning stones, and the precise knowledge of why each one had been chosen, of how the altar stone had come so very far, slipped quietly beneath the grass, waiting under the same wide sky for someone, one day, to ask again. What endured was not the ceremony, but the stones and the questions they held. For thousands of years, the questions sat unanswered. The Romans came and marched past it. Medieval writers gazed at the stones and invented legends, telling of giants and of the wizard Merlin carrying the stones all the way from Ireland by magic. In a strange way, those old stories sensed something true. They sensed that these stones had traveled, that they had come from somewhere far away. They simply had no way to measure how far or to imagine the real work behind it. It took modern science, patient and slow, to replace the legend with something even stranger than magic. Not a wizard at all, but a whole society, moving a mountain's child across the sea by muscle and tide and sheer collective will. The altar stone had kept its secret in plain sight, lying at the center of the most studied monument on earth. And the answer, all along, was written in grains too small to see. Science did not shrink the wonder of it. If anything, it deepened it. Rise above it once more in the blue hour before dawn. From here, you can hold the whole of Britain in a single glance. See the long green plain in the south, where the circle keeps its patient watch. Then trace the invisible thread running north, over the spine of the land, along the wild western coasts, all the way to the cold basin of the far northeast. 750 kilometers. A line drawn not by rivers and not by roads, but by human intention alone. It is easy to think of the ancient past as small, as local, as people who never strayed far from the fires they were born beside. This one stone quietly overturns all of that. It shows us a Britain already woven together, end to end, long before the wheel, long before writing, long before anyone dreamed of calling it history. And it did all of this with tools of bone, timber, stone and rope, nothing more and nothing less. No maps on paper, no compass, only the coast and the stars to steer by. And this is what the traveling stone truly leaves us with. Not a tidy answer, but a reordering of almost everything we assumed. We used to picture the Neolithic as a scatter of small, separate worlds. Now, at the very center of Stonehenge, lies the proof that they thought far bigger than we ever gave them credit for. They moved a mountain to speak to their gods. Across an entire island, by sea, without wheel or metal or horse, they carried 6 tons of Scottish sandstone and laid it at the beating heart of their greatest work. Not because they were forced to, because it meant something to them. The stone did not travel by accident, nor by ice, nor by magic. It traveled because people decided that it should, and then bent a whole society toward that single decision. That, more than any date or name, is the real discovery. The past was never as small as we imagined. We tend to flatter ourselves that ambition is a modern invention. This flat grey slab, so far from home, says otherwise. They dreamed across an ocean of time and left us the proof in stone. Now the sun climbs over the plain again, as it has for 5,000 mornings and more. The great circle holds its shadows. At its center, the traveling stone lies still, home at last, at the end of the longest road trip in the ancient world. It came so very far, and here, quietly, it rests. The plain breathes out, the story rests, and the stone keeps the quiet it has kept for 5,000 years. Sleep now, if you wish. The plain will keep its watch without you.